Welcome, everyone, to Friday's edition of Media Row Podcast with me, Justin Miller, sponsored by Kelly's Little Nipper. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in this week. Really appreciate all the interactive comments and shares and likes that we're getting on social media. It's been great to see this show just continue to grow, and it's all because of you guys. So really appreciate that. It's been a chaotic week. So we've had a lot to talk about. We barely get to even preview the Sweet 16. We'll preview a little bit of tonight's games. But, man, Drake, on Monday, you announced that you're losing your head coach, have a press conference with Brian Harden. Wednesday's show, we recapped that, and we went through all the, transfer portal opportunities for other Drake players that could leave. Bennett Sturts announces he'll leave. And then today we have even more players in Des Moines heading out and announcing they're going to enter the transfer portal. So just chaos in all of college basketball. But right now in the mid-major world, definitely centered, focused on the Drake Bulldogs with their head coach and star players leaving right now. But with all this chaos, I figured it was perfect timing to bring on the president of the DU Collective, Ryan Boatman. And Ryan and I met very briefly I think it was in the middle of February, just a home game there. He came up, said he was a fan of the show, appreciated what we're doing. It was nice to put a face to the name because I'd heard, his name floating around, and finally able to meet him. Great guy. So figured it was a great time to have him on the show to go through, the process of being a president of a mid-major collective. And now you have a head coach leave. You're expecting a lot of players to not really stick around. So how do you go about that as a collective? How do you, convince people to continue to, really support this thing because you believe that this will be something that will pay off and it won't just be a one-year deal anymore with these coaches. Drake won't just be a stepping stone after 1 year. Darren DeVries was there for 6 years. How do we get that more often? So a lot of these questions I have here for Ryan Boatman. Really excited to have him on the show. And then, like I said, we're going to kind of give our quick previews of the Sweet 16 tonight. Had a great time last night watching all the games. Now let's preview tonight and get ready for the Elite Eight this weekend. And then just like that, the Final Four is next weekend. But without further ado, welcome to the first time ever on the show, the president of the DU Collective, Ryan Boatman. All right, Ryan Boatman, again, thank you so much for doing this for us. First question I have is just, how did you get involved into all this craziness?
Yeah. Well, a couple of years ago, a buddy I went to college with asked me if I wanted to get involved with the collective, mostly from an accounting standpoint. My day job. I'm a tax accountant, and as the collective was getting propped up, it needed some sort of bookkeeping done and reconciling of accounts and things like that. And so he had asked me to kind of assist with that. Later, I joined the board, and now somehow I woke up and I'm the president of the thing. It's been a rewarding, enjoyable experience getting to know the student athletes and our just more members of our athletic department as a whole.
And what are some of the difficulties? Because I'm sure, I've talked with, Brent Bloom with the Iowa State, the We Will Collective, also talked with people from the Swarm with Iowa's, and they bring up challenges, but they're a Power Four school. What are some of the positives and also the difficulties with being a president of a collective in a mid-major where you can have quick overturn like we're seeing at Drake right now?
Yeah, I think each season brings a variety of different and unique challenges. I think probably a blessing and a challenge for us is we are truly a grassroots organization. We don't have we don't have a billionaire that is helping fund the collective. It really is, a group of people donating, 50, $100 a month. And um, that is super rewarding, but also, maybe a little more challenging, kind of ramp up to what we need to have to be competitive in the Missouri Valley Conference to attract, um, student athletes that we want here at Drake and we want in Des Moines. And so, um, a blessing and a challenge.
Has there been a moment that, in these first few years that made you go, okay, this is why I wanted to be the president, or this is why I am the president of the DU collective?
Yeah, several. When I first took over being the president, I knew I was going to have to organize more of the outreach side of things. Previously I had just been in kind of the background doing some of the, back office type stuff. When I kind of transitioned into the more of the role in between the collective and our student athletes, um, I thought that I was going to have to kind of organize each outreach initiative, and make sure everybody was there and to do their tasks. And I haven't had to do that. These guys and gals, they look forward to being members of our community and giving back. And so I can think for one example in particular, we were working with YSS, and they had a supply drive. And I thought, well, oh shoot, they didn't give us a ton of lead time on this, so I'm not sure we're going to be able to make it work. And the guys had already, like, they saw an Instagram story and had already planned on being there. So I didn't have to do that. We've run a couple of camps with the women's basketball team. I thought maybe I would have to, organize that agenda.
Yeah.
No, it was completely done by the folks that were running that camp. So it's been nice for me to be more hands off, kind of let the guys and gals run with it, and then I can kind of focus on the fundraising side of things.
How does it work? So let's say I was a student athlete looking to go to Drake, and do you have a contract, or how does this process work of, all right, we're going to give you X dollars, and then you just have to complete these certain tasks, or yeah, just how does it work?
Yeah, each contract is unique, and we work kind of with the student athletes and what is feasible for him or her to do throughout that school year. And so then we kind of build the contract through that, and then the compensation obviously follows how many outreach events or public appearances or things of that nature, that they do throughout the year.
And is there anything in the terms of like if someone gets hurt, and or if with the transfer portal being crazy, if they decide to leave mid-season, is there anything like in contract where it would kill the deal there, or how does that work too?
Yeah, so it has nothing to do with performance or being available to play. It's all revolves around their ability to complete the outreach tasks. So no, yeah, like you said, no, there's no, if you get hurt, you don't
Yeah.
get compensated. That doesn't happen with us. Or as long as you get your tasks done, even if you get in the portal, that's your decision. Obviously, we won't be renewing that contract the next year, but as long as you do what you say you were going to do, we will do what we said we were going to do. So,
So it's been a crazy week. I mean, last week, of course, the team wins their first NCAA tournament game since 1971, looking to go to the Sweet 16. And then within 48 hours, the team's back in Des Moines, lose their head coach to Iowa City, players entering the transfer portal. Just can you take me through what this week has looked from your perspective? Like, has Brian Harden and do you two communicate pretty frequently?
Um, I talk with Brian some. Obviously not this week. I don't know if anybody's talking with Brian this week. He's pretty
Outside
busy.
of the coaches he's going after now?
Right. Um, yeah, it has been a crazy week. How fun was Wichita? I mean, I saw a lot of grown adults crying in the crowd Thursday night. I might have been one of them. It was a special time, and I'm going to remember that forever. And then, yeah, we've had a lot of transition, obviously, over the past few days. We, nothing really changes on our end. I'm still in communication with the student athletes, making sure that they, are provided with the opportunities that I said I was going to provide them with so they can fulfill the terms of their agreements. And then once that concludes, I'll jump into kind of, I'll figure out who our new roster is, and we'll start putting together those compensation packages based on each individual's ability to fulfill, whatever they can fulfill during the year. Um, yeah, had not haven't talked with Brian much. I hope he's doing well. I can imagine he's not getting a lot of sleep right now. But yeah, I mean, it is a period of transition, but I do think even with Ben leaving and going to Iowa City, I mean, we still have people here that care about our student athletes that are on campus, and we're here to support them through the end of the semester.
So, did you find out that Ben was leaving to the Iowa Hawkeyes at the same time the rest of us were, or did you really?
I
Okay.
did, yeah, yeah. I wish that I wish I had some inside information, but I found out when everybody else did. In fact, I kind of found out on social media, which I think a lot of folks did, and then that turned out to not be true. And so, yeah, I was kind of surprised as everybody else.
Now, do you expect to be at any part of any meetings when they do find a new head coach? Because I do know, like at some schools, they bring in the collective president to talk about, hey, what's the money we have? What can we do to help raise more money? What are we estimating? Do you expect that to be in the future here coming up for the DU collective?
Yeah, um I think I would love to sit down with our new coaching staff on the men's side as soon as that they get comfortable and settled here in Des Moines. We have a banquet on April 15th that I would really like to have the new staff at, or at least the new head coach at, to kind of address our donor base. I think that's important. We did that last year with Ben when he got to town. We brought him to the banquet, and I thought that was it generated a lot of excitement amongst our donors, and I think that would be the case again this year. So I hope to be able to meet the staff and get to know them a little bit ahead of time. I'm sure we will of course talk about what our ability as a collective is in regards to providing opportunities for our men's and women's players. And yeah, we'll just just as a fan, I'm going to be excited to get to
Oh
know
yeah.
who that person is. So
But I was wondering too, because Brian on Monday's press conference that he held just to talk about like the state of Drake men's basketball mentioned how they were swinging for the fences with Ben. They weren't just going to let Iowa take him. They were
right.
going to try to put up a fight. And he mentioned how they were able to put together an offer that was the biggest in Drake men's basketball history. And a big thanks was to the donors. And he mentioned the DU collective. So I was wondering, did you get a phone call at some point saying, hey, what's the money we can try to present, or what's our budget? Was there any sort of conversations like that, or just how did that process go until you found out that Ben was actually leaving?
Yeah, so we've been working on our fiscal budget for the next
Hmm.
year. I mean, for months. So we knew that we were in a position to be competitive moving forward, and we knew that we were going to have to be. And so there was really no surprise there. I mean, we we had already put together a package that was going to make us very attractive to whoever the coach was going to be, just because we've had such great support from our donor base here over the past few months. So I can't say that it came together in like 48 hours. We've been building towards this for quite some time.
And so, I mean, just what are some of the things that went into this fast growth? Because he mentioned like it kind of was within this year they saw the biggest growth out of the DU collective. And I mean, that's saying something when in early August, most fans are wondering who these players are, who this coach is. And then by the time you're in March, you're sitting there going, man, we have ourselves in a position where we can make a really strong deal and persuade some people to come here.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a couple of different things. I think the narrative around uh, name, image, and likeness has, people are becoming more and more comfortable with it as time goes by. Because I mean, frankly, we're not going back. The genie's out of the bottle, and this is the new normal of college athletics. Whether you like it or not, this is where we are. And I think more and more people are starting to come around to that idea. I also think, we've added some infrastructure around the collective. We've created membership tiers. We've seen a lot of response there. We've done more happy hours and things throughout the year to get our donor base involved with the Drake community and our student athletes. Last summer, we went to an iCubs game as a group, and that was really well received. And it was the first time for our donors to kind of connect with our new roster on the men's side. So that was well received. We're doing more of those type of things. We're trying to provide a little access, a little community within the collective, and I think that's been well received.
May I ask what kind of the estimated, budget is for the DU collective for next season?
Yeah, it's ever moving, and I really can't say right now. I know that it's grown significantly. It's probably doubled what it was last year, and so
Wow.
we are the valley continues to each individual member of the valley is ramping up their NIL opportunities, and so we have to continue to push that to remain where we are, and that's at the top. And so we're, year to year, we're within, 1 through 4
Really?
in the valley. Yeah, and I think we can be super proud of that. But we have to continue.
Absolutely.
We've got to continue to do that to stay where we are. Because it's just part of college athletics now. It's where we are as a group.
With Drake being in that, top 1 through 4 in the valley in terms of NIL collective, just do you think Drake's in a kind of unique, special position where, some schools football is number one, and with Drake, while the football team has had great success and there's still a lot of excitement going into this season with Woodley, who's a champion and has never lost a regular season game, is
Mhm.
coming to town. Men's basketball, and I think women's basketball would probably be second, but men's basketball is right there king right now at the school. So does that give, when we're talking about men's basketball, does that give Drake kind of the edge that maybe the other Valley schools don't?
Yeah, so the Duke Collective, when it was set up, was for men's and women's basketball. Those are our revenue generating sports as a university. And I do think we are in a unique situation where we can really focus on those two programs because we have non-scholarship football, and we just haven't had the NIL opportunities in that space yet. I think you talk about NIL. I think revenue sharing is another example. I think the Big East schools are at an advantage when it comes to basketball
Oh
because
yeah.
because they don't have the investment in football. I think football is very important to a lot of our I mean to most of the Division I schools across the country. But yeah, for us, we focus and take pride. We are a basketball school, and I think that does provide us an advantage because we spend a lot of time and resources in that area.
So you make sure I'm getting this correct though. You still are providing NIL opportunities for football players, softball player, right? It's just more basketball focused.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I specifically work with men's and women's basketball, but if a business would come to the collective and say, "Hey, we want to do a deal with a football player or a softball player," I mean, we're not going to turn that away, right? We're
Yeah.
gonna we're gonna help facilitate that type of agreement. Yeah, so it's not specific, but those are the two programs that we focus on.
Um, you mentioned earlier about how, it's just the way the sports world is moving that you have to really bulk up your NIL collective to stay competitive. And, when you see a coach like Ben McCollum leave after 1 year, and now you're seeing players leave for the transfer portal right away, as the president of the DU collective, what's your response to maybe some of those fans or people on social media that second guess why they should even consider donating? Because why give money if they can't hold on to players and coaches for longer than a year?
Yeah, I think, every situation is unique, first of all. Ben got an opportunity to go back home to Iowa City, and he took that opportunity. Darren before him was here for 6 years. So it's not, year to year. I don't think we're always going to see coaches leave after 1 year and then the roster turnover. Is there more roster turnover in today's environment in college athletics? Sure. That's part of it. Um, I think that the student athlete is a special type of individual and that dedicates so much time to their university and to their community. And although we might be spending, we might not have 4 years with a student athlete, it doesn't mean that time isn't special, however long it is. And so, investing in them is important because it's investing in our community. Um, First of all, Drake's biggest marketing tool is their athletic programs. I mean, you've heard it. It's the front porch of the university. And so um, I look at it as investing in the collective is investing in Drake's marketing arm, because that's how we present ourselves to the public. I mean, think about all the eyes that we had on us last week in Wichita. I mean, you can't get any better advertising than the NCAA tournament.
And
So,
winning one too.
right,
Absolutely.
right, exactly. And so you have that piece, and then these are good kids, and we want them to be we want them to have a connection to Des Moines and to Drake, and we want them to stay here post graduation. And I think investing in your collective is a good way to show the love to our student athletes.
I heard Jay Williams say this on ESPN, and it was just talking about the college basketball world as a whole. And Drake was the famous popular pick to be the Cinderella team this season. And once the Sweet 16 was set with only four conferences being represented, no mid majors in it, he mentioned how he thinks NIL is the death of the Cinderella teams in the NCAA tournament. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I want to get your thoughts on kind of those comments. Is NIL taking away those Cinderella type teams, or are we just seeing a year that the Power Four just dominated?
I think it's cyclical. Um, we're what, a couple of years removed from a 16 beating a one. So,
We're a couple of years removed from like San Diego State being in the Final Four and FAU
exactly,
too.
exactly. So I don't think that I I think that there are fantastic players at every level in this country, or at every level in the country. I mean, we had we had four guys come from D2 and win a game in the tournament. So there are talented players all over the country. Um, I think that it's important for mid majors to remain innovative and in the NIL space and find ways to engage with our student athletes so we can retain them. I think the focus is going to be on retention. Um, we we know that there are good players all over the place, but can once we get them here, can we keep them here? And I think that's the challenge that our collectives face right now. I think we're answering the call. I mean, we just talked about how we bulked up our fundraising efforts and we are in a great position moving forward for whoever the next coach is. So we yeah, I don't think that NIL is ruining college athletics. I think it's changing college athletics. And I think people that are slow to adapt to it are they could be left behind. But I think schools like ours and collectives like ours, we've embraced it and we know that this is where we're headed and where we are, and I think we'll be fine moving forward. And we won a game in the tournament, and we 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 were pretty competitive in the second game, and a few shots fall, and we're right there with a chance to be in the Sweet 16. There's several schools like that. So yeah, I think that it's cyclical. I think this is kind of a unique year. Um, do the Power Four schools have more resources than a Drake does? Yeah, of course. But we're gonna find ways to remain competitive and be innovative in the space.
Have you reached out to any of the other presidents of the collectives, like a Brent Bloom, to try to? Do you get advice from one another? Because everyone feels like they're all just trying to figure out this chaos together in a way.
Yeah, I can't say that I've spoke with Brent personally. I've talked with Chris Williams some,
Oh yeah.
and he's friends with Brent. But I've talked with other collective presidents. Yes, over time we've had some calls, and we're just trying to interpret the rules as we go, just like everybody else. And yeah, I mean, I think. I think it has been kind of a baptism by fire,
Absolutely.
um, but yeah, I mean, and I've talked with, you know, presidents of really small collectives, and I've talked with presidents of Big 12 collectives. So, yeah, I've had conversations with all sorts of different folks just to kind of get a perspective on what they're doing, what we're doing. It's just more of an information sharing process. And yeah, it's been fun to get to know those folks and kind of see what they're doing and how they're reacting to the ever-changing landscape. And
So what's next for the DU collective now? Got to focus on hopefully the news will break here soon of a new head coach and you can worry about that. But just what's next for the DU Collective and how they're going to separate themselves from the other Valley schools and hopefully, yeah, like you said, retain these players because you can get great players in a mid-major school, but man, the Power Four schools are still really enticing to anyone who comes through.
Sure. We like I said, we've got our banquet coming up here on April 15th out at Prairie Meadows. Get registered for that if you haven't done so already. We'll have both our men's and women's teams there. Hopefully we'll have our new men's basketball coach say a few words. We'll have Allison Pullman say a few words. We'll celebrate a couple of pretty fun seasons, pretty special seasons. We've got a silent auction and a live auction we'll do for some fundraising, some cool stuff there. Uh, More information will be coming out about that. And yeah, it'll just be a night of community and celebrating, some really great memories that we made this past year.
Well, Ryan, thank you again so much for doing this for me.
Yeah, of
I
course.
really appreciate it. It was nice meeting you at the Nap Center, and then right away when all this chaos was happening, I was like, I think this is the perfect time to get Ryan on, as if you don't have enough on your plate right now.
Yeah. Well, no, happy to do it. Happy to talk about the collective any chance I get. So thanks for having me on, and we'll just kind of sit here and wait and see when the news drops.
Yes, we will. Is there any specific place people can reach you at or is there a place they should go on like a DU Collective website?
Yeah, it's dogreatcollective.org. That's our website. And then you can always email me at dogreatcollective@gmail.com, and we're pretty responsive with that. So I look forward to answering any questions people have, and look forward to seeing everybody at the Nap Center here in, well, 7, 8 months.
Big thanks to Ryan Boatman, president of the DU Collective, for hopping on with us today. Always means the world when, I can annoy people on their busy day. I mean, I start off the interview talking about his busy, chaotic week and just the involvement with the collective and everything that's happening. And here I am, hey, you want to hop on a podcast and talk? And so him being willing to do that means the world, and really excited to build on that relationship and have him on more often. Had a great time. I'm someone who, when I was on with Travis and Ross in the mornings, they were always very interested on like the money side, business side of sports. I find that interesting, but I'm not as well versed in it. I feel like my bread and butter is the box scores, breaking down games. And so it's been nice to get to know Ryan, and I feel like I can't remember what movie it is, but I have to stop there and quote it and be like, explain this to me like I'm a 8-year-old. Like, how does this process work? What is happening? How are the contracts set up? What's the estimated budget? Like, all those questions. Maybe some of you listening already knew the answers. I don't feel as well versed on the business side of things. It's something I want to get better at and grow at, especially like Ryan said. I mean, it is now the culture of all college sports. It's what you're expecting to do to win is you have to bump up this NIL. And kudos to you Drake fans, the donors, for making Drake. Now, not just because of the victories, but because of you guys, now this collective has built itself up to be able to take a swing at Ben McCollum, to make him sit there and think there for a bit. Now, I do think it was a done deal no matter what, but do appreciate Ben McCollum. I think he seriously was sitting on it. From what I've heard from Brian Harden, from what I heard from Ryan, is he was seriously sitting on it because Drake was willing to put together a option for him that was the biggest, contract in Drake men's basketball history. So that's a kudos to the NIL collective. It'll be interesting to see how they're able to sustain success, grow when life as a mid-major is anything but easy. Power four schools are losing starters, and now you're expected as a mid-major to keep your starters and with less resources. So thank you to Ryan Boatman, president of the DU Collective. Make sure to check him out on any of those websites that I mentioned if you have any more questions, and hopefully too we can bring him on more often on Media Row. Before we jump into our Sweet 16 projections, though, I do need to give a shout out to our title sponsor in Kelly's Little Nipper, 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. Again, it's three easy factors on why this place is the best and why you should go there. And that's just people, great food, and great drinks. It's just three. There's your why should we go there? 1, 2, and 3. There's your three keys. We like to do the three keys for Drake winning games. Now the three keys for you to have a great night. Go to Kelly's Little Nipper. Great food, great drinks, better community. And also make sure to follow them on Facebook. Over 10,500 followers. A lot of people gravitate towards Facebook. And they do there because that's where Kelly's likes to put out a lot of their meal deals. So on Thursday, I think they were doing, or on Monday, it was like Grinder Monday. You had chicken strips on sale and all this good stuff throughout the week that they always try to put out there. So make sure you follow along so you can make sure to take advantage of any of those great deals. Kelly's Little Nipper, 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines, proud sponsor of Media Row. And if you do go to Kelly's Little Nipper, make sure to tell them that Media Row sent you. So Sweet 16 preview time. Great games last night. Lots of great games tonight. I think tonight's the better schedule of games, better slate. Starting off with Tennessee and Kentucky, two SEC teams battling it out. I like Tennessee. I've always liked Tennessee. Rick Barnes is a fantastic coach. I just like the physicality and the way they like to do the dirty work. Very similar to, when I broke down how Drake was able to beat Missouri, it was because they did the dirty work well. Tennessee is, one, crazy athletic, but two, love to get physical. And that's just a Rick Barnes style. When they went on that run in 2018, I had them winning the whole thing because I believed in Rick Barnes, and I still believe in Rick Barnes. So give me Tennessee over Kentucky. Michigan State, Ole Miss could be one of the better games of the weekend. I think I'm going to go with Izzo because, one, it's Tom Izzo in March. Two, Ole Miss, man, just up and down team, nearly blowing a 20-plus point lead against a bad North Carolina team. Iowa State was down by 20, cut it within 10 with 2 minutes left, had opportunities that just didn't fall. So I'm worried with a team like Michigan State that is very well balanced and well coached. If Ole Miss has any of those hiccups where they go on long minute scoring droughts and can't hold on to a lead, I think Michigan State would take advantage of it because they're a better team than North Carolina and Iowa State that we've seen this season. So give me the Spartans. And then second to last game, Auburn, Michigan. I think this is a cakewalk for Auburn, actually. Michigan, I've just not been incredibly impressed with throughout the season. Yeah, they won the Big Ten tournament, and they've had moments where they look good, and they have some beasts in the paint that can compete with the strong rebounding force of Auburn. But, man, Auburn's got some dudes. And I think Auburn's just athletic ability is going to wear down this Michigan team. And I like the Tigers dominating Michigan and moving on to the Elite Eight. And then the final game, Houston, Purdue. Purdue, a well-coached team, a team that can really pressure you defensively and is going to make you work on the glass. But Houston could easily be the national champion. One, Kelvin Sampson is a fantastic Hall of Fame coach. Two, they are grown-ass men. I mean, it reminds me of those Drake teams in 23 where you had dudes that were like 25 to 26 years old. They're experienced. They like the physicality. They don't get intimidated by anyone. They can play at a fast pace. They can also slow the game down. They don't get in over their heads about anything, and that's all because of Sampson. And so I love Houston to win this game. Think it'll be a battle just because outside that Michigan game, I think all these games are going to be really close. But give me Houston moving on to the Elite Eight. And, man, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens over this weekend. Who will be in the Final Four? But right now, the only thing I don't like about my picks is just that they're all the favorites. Because, man, we're still waiting on what's going to be the kind of, I don't want to say Cinderella team, but the upsets. Where are we going to start seeing those? Because this year, this NCAA tournament has been chalk for the most part. But so give me Tennessee, Michigan State, Auburn, and Houston for the Sweet 16, moving on to the Elite Eight this weekend. Thank you again so much for tuning in to this week of Media Row Podcast with me, Justin Miller, sponsored by Kelly's Little Nipper. Thank you to Kelly's Little Nipper. Go check them out, 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. Thank you to DKG Images, as always, throughout the week, providing us with those Drake images throughout the season that he did. Thank you as well to our great listeners, and continue to subscribe, comment, like, all that great stuff. And we will see you Monday as we will break down everything that happened over this weekend in the chaotic March Madness tournament. So see you guys Monday at 2 o'clock.